So I have already discussed in detail and in depth about the uses and functions of all the four forms of present tense and simple past tense along with its examples. The link of which will be provided in the description box just to have a look. So today let me proceed with the 11 uses or functions or purpose of past continuous or progressive tense along with its diverse examples. So as the name says, it's past continuous tense, also called as past progressive tense. So learn the structure of a sentence in past continuous or past progressive tense before we dive into the 11 uses of this tense. So first, how do you frame a sentence? Subject plus was or were plus V4 plus object. Was or were, they are the past tense of BE. What is V4? It is the present participle of the verb. Verb plus ing. So there are three narrative voices or pronouns. First person, second person and third person. The sentence in first person is I was writing the letter. We were writing the letter. This is first person singular and first person plural. Next is second person. You were writing the letter. We use were with you. Next is third person singular and third person plural pronoun. He was writing the letter. She was writing the letter. They were writing the letter because it's plural, and it was. He, she and it, they are singular third person pronouns, and this is plural third person. Okay, this is how you frame a sentence in past continuous and past progressive tense. Now we have 11 uses of this tense along with its diverse examples. So before you actually learn about tenses and change the voice, you need to master over all types of verbs. V1, V2, V3, regular and irregular verbs, stative and dynamic verbs, transitive and intransitive verbs, linking verbs and auxiliary verbs. You need to have a command and supremacy, domination over all the verbs so that you can be a master over grammar, especially the tenses. So let's begin with past continuous tense, also called as past progressive tense. Now, one thing that I set prominently in simple past tense was, in simple past tense, the extension, the period of time or the duration of time is not important, and that the action completed in the past is important in simple past tense. But that's not the case here. In past continuous or progressive tense, whatever I have written here is extremely important and significant. The first is action happened in the past. Action is incomplete as it's in continuity. So hope you got it. In simple past tense, the action completed in the past. But here, even though the action is taking place in the past, the action is incomplete, it is unfinished, it's in progress, it's in continuity, it is ongoing. Now, third is the base, very important. These points are the foundation or the pillar of past continuous or progressive tense. Now, look at the third point. how long the action was taking place, how much time was spent doing it, that is the period or duration or the extension of time. I hope you're getting it. In simple past tense, I specified over and over again that extension of time is not important, passage of time is not important, duration of time not important, period of time is not important, but all that matters here. Here, the extension, the passage, the duration, the period of time is important. In past continuous or progressive tense, we need to know how long the time was spent in that action or event. But the thing is, starting point and ending point of the time will be missing. But period is not important. Action that was ongoing in past is important. Okay, I hope this is clear. The in past continuous or progressive tense, the starting point and the ending point of time in most of the scenarios or in most of the cases will not be mentioned, and you will get to comprehend and understand it better when we solve the examples. I mean to say that when we speak a sentence in past continuous or progressive tense, often we don't make explicit the time, that is the starting time and the ending time. We don't make it explicit or clear because time is not important. The period or the duration is important. We'll have a look at the examples one by one. So this is rule number 1 of past continuous or progressive tense. So let me remind you that in past continuous or progressive tense, the period in time, the extension, duration of time is important, while in simple past, a point of time is important. In past continuous or progressive tense, the activity takes place for a long time. It's in progress or in continuity. The activity is not for a short time. It's not for 1 second. It's for a long duration in past continuous or progressive tense. Now let's look at rule number 1. Ongoing actions at a specified time. Use past continuous if action started before that time and continued after that. Now the definition so says that an action would have taken place, but the action would have taken place before that time which is mentioned in the sentence and would have continued after that time which is mentioned in the sentence. There is an action specified in the statement, but that action would have taken place before that time and that action would have continued after that time. You will understand it better when we solve the examples. First example is, I was studying last night at 2 a.m. Okay, so this is in past continuous or progressive tense. I was studying last night at 2 a.m. Imagine that a neighbor came to your home in the morning and she said, "Hey, did you hear any sound or a noise in the building premises last night at 2 a.m.? And you said, last night 2 a.m., 2 a.m. Oh, last night 2 a.m. I was studying. I was busy. I was engrossed in studying, or I was sleeping. I was so engrossed in studying that there's no chance that I could have heard that sound or noise." So it means that you have started studying before 2 a.m. and you would have continued studying after 2 a.m. So there's no chance that you would have heard that voice. That's all it says. Second example is, my cousins were enjoying while I had to attend the school. My cousins were enjoying while I had to attend the school. Were enjoying is in past continuous or progressive tense. Now imagine a scenario wherein your cousins have all arrived a day before, okay, and you are all having a gala time, a festive time, you're all in celebrations, but next day you have no option but to attend the school. The very next day you are supposed to attend the school, and when you reach the school you say to your friends, my cousins were enjoying while I had to attend the school. It means that you were not in a mood to attend the school. When you were getting ready for the school, your cousins were celebrating. When you left your home, your cousins were celebrating. When you're still at the school, your cousins are celebrating. So that's what you share with your friend. Oh, my cousins and friends were all celebrating while look at me, I'm still at school studying. So hope you got it. The action would have taken place before the time and it proceeds even after that. Look at the third example. By 18, I was handling all of my father's business. By 18, I was handling all of my father's business. Was handling is in past continuous tense. So imagine that you have met a long lost friend of yours after a long time, and you share about the happenings of your life, and you say this sentence, by 18 I was handling all of my dad's business. So what does that mean? You would have started managing your father's business before 18 itself. You were so hardworking and diligent that at the age of 15 itself, you started working on your business. And by 18, you were making your extensions, you were expanding your territory and property and estates. That by 18, you were handling all of your dad's business. I hope you got it. This is the main base or the pillar of all the other rules. In past continuous or progressive tense, activity takes place for a longer time. It lingers on for a long time. Activity is not short. It's not for a short duration or for a short time. It's not for 1 second or few hours. Let's learn rule number 2. An action that gets interrupted. An action that is interrupted is in past continuous tense, while an action that interrupts it is in simple past. I hope you know what you mean by interrupt or interruption. A kind of break, halt, or a suspension, okay, a temporary suspension or termination, a halt or a break, okay. So the action that creates the break or the halt or the interruption is in simple past, while the action which has got interrupted is in past continuous tense. Let's look at the examples for a better clarity. Example 1. I was sleeping when the neighbor knocked. So there are two actions here. One action, it's creating the interruption. The second action, it's getting interrupted because of the effect of the first action. Okay, So was sleeping is in past continuous tense. Knocked is in simple past tense. So why is knocked in simple past tense? Because it is the action that is creating the interruption. We saw in the explanation that an action that interrupts it is in simple past. So here the neighbor is creating the disturbance. The neighbor is knocking on the door while I was sleeping. The action that creates the disturbance is written in simple past. The action that got affected is written in past continuous. Let's move on to the second example. We were watching TV when the power went off. So again, there are two actions. The first action, it's creating the interruption. The power or the current is creating the disturbance. We were watching TV when the power went off. Went is in simple past and we were watching is in past continuous tense. Look at the third example. My friends came while I was outing. Is there any change in this particular sentence? Here, the action that is creating the disturbance or the interruption, I have placed that particular sentence in the first half, while the action that is interrupted is in the second half. Okay, in the other two examples, the action that was interrupting was in the second half, which I have placed it in the first half. Why? Because as you read the examples, you may feel that always the simple past tense will come in the second half of the sentence only. No. It can come in either in the first half or in the second half. You need to understand the meaning. You need to understand the actions. You need to understand what is creating the interruption and which action is getting interrupted. So in the third case, my friends came while I was outing. Who is creating the interruption? My friends. And what is getting interrupted? I was enjoying, I was outing. So suddenly, all of a sudden, I had to come home, leaving all my shopping and festive spirit. My friends disturbed me. So what is creating the disturbance in the third example? My friends. So these simple past tense and past continuous tense, it can be placed anywhere in the sentence. So you need to understand and apply the action that causes the interruption and the action that is affected because of the interruption. I hope you understood. Rule number 3 says, do not use past continuous tense for stative verbs. Use it only for dynamic verbs. Now we had discussed previously stative verbs and dynamic verbs in present continuous tense and in some other tenses as well. So what is actually a stative and a dynamic verb? Stative verbs are those verbs which refer to emotions, feelings, thoughts and everything that is abstract, which you cannot touch, is stative verbs. What is dynamic verbs? Action words or action verbs are dynamic verbs. He writes a letter. He plays cricket. So writes, plays, eats. All these are dynamic verbs. While stative verbs are like, dislike, I suspect, I assume, I realize, I understand. All these are related to emotions, feelings, and thoughts which you cannot touch. It's abstract. So those are stative verbs and we should not use past continuous tense for stative verbs. Let's look at the example. I was wanting to go. It's wrong. I was assuming it to be right. It's wrong. I was liking her. Wrong. I was disliking her. Wrong. It was costing rupees 10. Wrong. I was realizing that. Wrong. So we use past continuous tense only for dynamic verbs. This is rule number 4, and here you need to memorize certain expressions of time and adverbs of frequency. So let's see. Use past continuous tense for habitual actions in the past. Now, what is a habitual action? One that is a habit, one that was frequent in the past. Now, more or less, those actions or situations were temporary in the past. We use past continuous tense for habitual actions in the past because those situations were temporary, and also for unplanned, undesired event in the past. Here, the duration of the time is important. Duration, the extension of time, the period of time is important. If you look at these words or expressions, you can realize that all these words and expressions represent or imply the passage or the duration of time. For example, all the time he was doing this. Always, forever, constantly, continually, continuously, whole time, whole day, perpetually. Now let's look at adverbs of frequency. Rarely, seldom, sometimes, occasionally, often, frequently, usually, until. Until is also a subordinating conjunction of adverb clause of time. So please learn or memorize these words and expressions. And with these expressions of time that imply frequent or habitual actions in the past, we use past continuous tense. You'll understand it more when we solve the examples. So let's look at the examples related to the expressions we have just seen now. We'll apply those expressions, the adverbs of frequency and the expressions we saw. We are going to see them in the examples here. But before that, listen to what I'm saying now. In all these examples, you will find one thing, and that is the starting point of time and the ending point of time is not given anywhere. But you can conclude or infer. You can understand or conclude the time period after reading the sentence from the context itself. Why it is so? Because time period is not important. The action that was ongoing in the past is important. If you see here these examples, in all the 4 examples, the situation is temporary. It's not long lasting. It's not permanent. So what are the things that you need to keep in mind? In these examples, you will see a habitual action, a frequent action that happened in the past. Then you will see that there is no starting point of time and there is no ending point of time. And then you see that even if there is no starting point and ending point, you can still understand or conclude the time period from the context itself. Time period is not important. The ongoing action in the past is important. Now let's look at the examples. The first example is, as a child, he was always crying. Now this is in past continuous, and this is the expression of time. Okay, your neighbor comes to your home and she starts sharing the childhood stories and happenings of her child. And your neighbor says, oh, my boy child, as a child, he never used to sleep. He was always crying. He kept on crying, and I could never sleep at all in peace. It was very difficult for me. He was always crying. So we use a temporary habitual action in past continuous tense. Moving on to the second example, I was often making mistakes in calculations. This is the expression of time, and this is in past continuous. I was often making mistakes in calculations. Imagine a scenario where a friend of yours come to your home and says, hey, Alice, why did you take up arts? Why did you take up humanities? And you give this reply, in my childhood, I was often making mistakes in maths. I was so poor in maths. I was always making mistakes in calculations. I was so poor, and that's why I opted for arts. Okay, so this action, although being temporary, it happened during a phase of your life. Like say when you were from class 5 to class 10, class 6 to class 12, you were always making mistakes. Third example, he was drinking occasionally. Now this is the expression of time, and this is in past continuous. He was drinking occasionally. So I'm just sharing an incident of my friend. Oh, my friend, a few years back, he just lost his BMW. He got broken-hearted and he took to drinking. He started this drinking habit. Oh, it was occasionally. He was drinking occasionally, but now he is all out of that. Now he is fine. But that time he was drinking occasionally to come out of that depression. Okay, so in such scenarios where the action would have taken place for a longer time in the past, we use past continuous tense. Now let's look at the next example. I was working till late evening. So this is an expression of time, and this is in past continuous, was working. A father is sharing his nostalgia about his kids who are in US. Oh, how I was working for my kids. I gave them a good upbringing. I was working day and night, and that's how I brought up my kids. I was working, okay? So this is also a habitual action, a temporary situation that happened in the past. So this is rule number 5. Here also I have given you a list of adverb phrases which you need to learn or memorize. And with these adverb phrases also, we use past continuous tense for an action that was ongoing in the past. But the thing is, here also the starting point and ending point of the time will not be provided or mentioned. You have to infer it from the context. Use past continuous with adverb phrases. So those phrases are all morning, all night, all day, all week, whole night, whole day, whole month, whole year, for hours, for days, for years, for weeks, for months. So with these are the adverb phrases we use with past continuous tense. Have a look at the examples. The players were practicing whole month. This is an adverb phrase and this is in past continuous tense. So recently someone asked the cricket coach, oh, your team won, how did they win, what was the reason for their win? And the coach said, oh, the players were playing for the whole month, for the whole year. The players were practicing for the whole year. So obviously I knew they would win. I was damn sure, I was pretty sure that they would win. Why? Because they were practicing whole month. So what does it imply? That the action was ongoing for a period of time and the emphasis and stress is on this, because this shows how much they suffered to get that trophy or the first prize. So the duration is important because it shows the amount or the extent or the duration of our suffering or the action or the pain, the hard work, etc. Second example, the fever was running for weeks. For weeks is the adverb phrase here and this is in past continuous tense. The fever was running for weeks. I was not at all able to attend the convention or the meeting because it was running for weeks. Did you understand what is emphasized here? The ongoing action. I was suffering for weeks with the fever and that's why I could not attend. The prominence and importance is given to the extent of the fever, to the extent of the practice of the players. Third example is, I was trying to cope up with the situation for months. For months is the adverb phrase here and the verb is in past continuous tense. Okay, so what has happened here is I lost my pet dog. I couldn't take it. I was broken hearted. It took a long time for me to come out of that depression. And during those days when I had lost my pet dog, I was trying to cope up with the situation for months. So my extent or gravity of pain is shown only through past continuous tense. Okay, if I want to show the extent or the gravity of something, then I have to mention the duration. I was trying. Next example is, poor woman, she was cooking all the time. This is in past continuous and all the time is the adverb phrase here. Poor woman, she was cooking all the time. Whenever I visited my neighbor, I saw her cooking all the day and night, whole time. Poor woman, she was cooking. So she was doing a very painstaking task of cooking for her family all the time. So if I have to show how painstaking her task is, then I have to use past continuous tense. So this is my rule number 6 and I guess those of you who have got a wide reading habit and obsession of reading suspense stories, adventurous and scary stories would understand this better. Let's look. Use past continuous to set a background for a story. to set a scary scene or to show what's happening before some suspense is going to be broken, use past continuous tense. So what does the definition says is that you have to use past continuous tense for a story where you are going to set an ambience or an environment or a surrounding which is scary and where a suspense thriller is about to be broken or disturbed. Let's look at the examples. The rains were pouring, the darkness was pitching in, everyone was enjoying the party when the pirate came from nowhere. Okay, so did you understand? This, we have come across such sentences and examples in storybooks where if something bad has to happen, then a setting or an ambience is created to support that action. The darkness is pitching, the rains are pouring, it is all dark, everyone was watching, everyone was dancing when a pirate comes out suddenly. Pirate means a robber or a thief. Okay, so another one example is one day I was waiting for the bus when suddenly a man appeared out of nowhere. He came across me and he started asking me questions. So all such scary things as a background, as an ambience setting for a story, we use past continuous tense. Rule number 7, you will see two different actions are happening for the same person. Two different actions happening for one person. One event is more important than the other in the past. Use past continuous for less important event and simple past for the main event. Did you understand? So there are two events that are taking place in this rule, and those two events are happening for the one and the same person. One event is not important, it is silly or trivial or less important. The second action is the main important. So the definition says use past continuous for less important action and simple past for the main event. Okay, so in these examples you'll see one thing, that is completed action versus incomplete action. In example 3 you will see two parallel actions are happening at the same time. Let's look at the examples. Example 1, I was studying when I saw the fight. So this is in simple past and this is in past continuous. Which is the main event? The fight. So we used simple past tense here. Which is a less important event? That I was studying. So for the less important thing, we use past continuous. For more important thing, we use simple past. And here, time is the indicator. Time is indicated here because the action is over. The action is finished. While here, the action is unfinished. Let's look at the second example. She was cycling to school when she saw the dead cow. Saw is in simple past tense. Was cycling is in past continuous. So which is the main event? she saw the dead cow, which is a less important even that she was cycling. Which action is completed and time is indicated here? Here. And where is time not indicated? Here, because this is incomplete. Now look at the next example. It's a parallel action happening side by side. It's a crime scene. I was watching a movie when my brother was sleeping. In both these actions, there are two actions happening here. I was watching a movie and my brother was sleeping. There are two actions happening here parallelly. Whereas in example 1 and 2, one action was finished and the other one was unfinished. Whereas in third example, you can see both actions are happening together. So to understand this, I'll give you an example. Think about a situation in a building where a crime has happened and the cop has arrived. C-O-P, cop means police. The cop has arrived for investigation. And the cop comes to your home and he asks you, hey, when the crime happened, what were you doing? And what was your brother doing? The cop is questioning you and your brother, and you have become very scared and you say, I was watching a movie when my brother was sleeping. So the action was ongoing that time. It was parallel. Both the actions were happening together at the same time, and that's why we use past continuous in both the actions. Rule number 8 says, use past continuous to imply the present in polite expressions. Okay? Whenever you want to say something politely in a humble way, or when you want to express your opinion, your personal suggestion, what is happening in your mind, then you can use past continuous tense. Let's have a look at the example. I was thinking if that was the train to Delhi. Second is I was wondering, thinking, wondering. Do you remember stative verbs? Everything of emotion, feelings and thoughts, verbs of emotions, thoughts, which are called as stative verbs. They come in this. But when you want to express something politely or your opinion, then in that case, you can use past continuous tense. I was thinking if that was the train to Delhi. So you need to understand the context or the scenario. Imagine that you and your cousin, you both are standing on a railway platform and the train has come. So the moment, as soon as the train came, your cousin jumped onto the train. Your cousin boarded immediately. And he just turns back and see that you are standing on the platform itself. Your cousin is shouting out to you, hey, aren't you coming? So, and you reply, oh, I was thinking if this was indeed the train. I was just wondering. I was thinking. I hope you understood it. So even though verbs like think and assume are all stative verbs, you can use it for you can use past continuous tense for polite expressions or for expressing your opinions. Second example, I was wondering if this is true. I was wondering if this is true. Now imagine a friend of yours has shared a top secret about a third person with you, and you stay put, you stay calm, you don't reply anything, you keep mum and quiet, you don't give a reply, and your friend pesters you, hey, why don't you reply, say something, and you say, I was wondering if this secret is true. I was thinking if this is indeed true. I hope you understood it. In such cases, we use past continuous tense. Rule number 9, use past continuous to talk about something that is not happening in the present, which means that the action or the communication is happening in the present. The communication, the conversation is in the present, but something is not happening, which should have happened. It was important, it was impertinent that something should have happened, but it's not happening. Let's look at the examples. If Glenn was playing, the team will win. If Glenn was playing, the team will win. This is in past continuous. Imagine that you are sitting in the stadium watching the match, and all of a sudden you come to know that your favorite player named Glenn is not in the team. He is absent. He is not a participant in the match. And you get shocked and you comment and you say to your friend, oh no, if Glenn was playing, no, I'm damn sure the team will win. But I don't think the team is going to win because Glenn is not there. If Glenn was playing, no, I'm sure our team will win. Okay, that's how you frame past continuous tense. Second example, if he was taking medicine, the fever would have gone completely, immediately. If he was taking the medicine, the fever would have gone immediately. So in both the examples, it's happening in the present. Someone is bedridden, he's sick, and he's not taking any tablet or drug or medicine. And you say, if he was taking medicine now, then he would have been cured. He would have recovered immediately. But he's not taking medicine. Something is not happening, which if happened, there would have been a change. I hope you got it. So this is rule 10. Use past continuous tense to show plans and events of the future got cancelled. So it means that you made some plans for tomorrow or for the future. You made many excessive preparations. In the end, you became a fool as due to some situations or circumstance, it got cancelled. In such case, we use past continuous tense. Example, what were you planning for tomorrow? What were you planning for tomorrow? Imagine that you and your family, you had all made the preparations to attend a wedding for the next day. And you come to know suddenly the day before that the wedding has got cancelled. Now, someone is asking you, your friend or cousin calls you, hey, what were you planning for tomorrow? What were you planning to wear for tomorrow? Was it lehenga or was it a sari? What were you planning? So in such situations where the future events got cancelled, we use past continuous tense. Okay, so this is past continuous. This is the subject. Second example, were you not coming with me? Past continuous. Subject, and this is an interrogative negative sentence. Were you not coming with me? Imagine that your friend and you have decided to go somewhere. Your friend got ready and has come to the exit. And your friend learns that you have not even got ready. Your cousin has all decked up and he has got ready. And he is asking you this, were you not coming with me? You said you were coming. Were you not coming with me? Were you not accompanying me? So in such cases where things don't go as per your wishes or plans, wherein it gets cancelled, we use past continuous tense. Look at the third example. Were you accompanying me? Were you accompanying me? Or were you coming with me? Were you planning to come with me? Imagine that you and your cousin had decided to go somewhere, but your cousin totally forgot about you and he left by the car. And suddenly, after an hour, he remembers you and he calls you, "Hey, were you coming with me? Were you planning to come with me? Were you accompanying me?" So, in such cases where things don't go as per what we plan, where things get cancelled, we use past continuous tense. Next rule is use past continuous to show a change in growth or to show a transformation. Example, back then my English was improving, but now it is not. Was improving, past continuous tense. Back then my English was improving. So imagine a case or a situation wherein someone comes to you and says, "Hey, what happened to your English? Why does it sound so ill-formed and sick? What happened to your English?" And you reply, "Oh, few years back I used to learn and I used to practice a lot, but now I have lost touch. Back then my English was improving. Few years back I had taken the course and that time I was improving, but now I don't have the time. I'm all hooked up." So to show a change or a transformation, a contrast in the growth, you can use past continuous. Second, my hair was graying, but now I'm fine. My hair was graying back then, was graying. Hey, a few years back I was on treatment. I was on some steroids and drugs and all. My hair was graying then, but now I'm fine. Now I'm totally fine. I'm in the pink of my health. So to show a change from what it was then, you can use past continuous tense.